Okay, question, when will Coleman Barracks close? Coleman Barracks is another one of those that I can tell you what I know and then I can tell you what I think. I know it'll close by 2015. What I think is it will close sometime in 2014 because the last unit out of Coleman that we expect to move will be the confinement facility. The confinement facility has to move to a new location in Sembach, and that facility is currently, I think, towards the end of design, and they are beginning to break ground on it soon. Is that correct, Denise? Okay. And I think right now the proposed completion for that is December of 2013. Which means the confinement facility moves sometime in 14, and that's when we can close Coleman Barracks. Will PHV be big enough to accommodate everyone from Ben Franklin Village? Housing is already quite full, and only a few buildings are open for people to move in. Okay, I'll attempt to answer this, and then Ms. Thomas, you can always expound if there's something additional to add. Based on the last numbers I saw for PHV, even though we're at an 85% utilization rate of the family housing in PHV, that still equates to about 200 units that are open. 2 complete buildings are coming out of renovation, and I think one in February and one in March. So that's 2 complete buildings that are empty right now, have just gone through maintenance and renovations. And so we will have 2 complete buildings to move families from Ben Franklin Village and Mark Twain Village East. And then we do, again, have a significant number of quarters that are open today, somewhere in the realm of 200. In our initial analysis of families that have to move from Ben Franklin Village, our initial cut showed, I believe the number was 76 families, and Mark Twain Village East, it was 15, for a total of 91 families. So clearly, in raw aggregate numbers, we have sufficient quarters to move everybody that we need to into Patrick Henry Village, and we could do that today if all of those families were ready to move today. And then certainly in the summer, more will be opening up as we move units out. But we're trying to encourage families to move before the summer rush. You heard me explain about all the units that are going to be trying to move out of here. There will be lots of PCS moves in that summer time frame out. So we encourage you, if you don't have children in the Mannheim Elementary School, then try and do your move before the end of the school year so that you can get in place before the big summer surge out. So you're not struggling to get that personal property movement scheduled. If you've got kids in the Mannheim Elementary School and you're going to need to move over here, I absolutely understand why you would want to stay until the end of the school year in Mannheim. What we recommend in that case is that you go ahead and work the move now, though. Talk to our personal property office in the Community Support Center, and we can at least get the move scheduled, plan the move so that you get a locked-in date and can get supported, because that summer move period is going to be very heavy on folks moving out of here. So as much as possible, we want folks to do the move earlier. But getting back to the bottom line of the question, yes, we have sufficient housing in the aggregate. There may be a couple situations where if you have a particularly large family, you have a large bedroom requirement, we may not have, at the time you want to move, sufficient quarters, and that is when we would then refer you to off-post, because there may be some instances of this particular bedroom requirement you're looking for we can't meet because of the number of folks we have already in those quarters. Does that hit everything, or is there something else? Okay. So hopefully that answered the question. If not, they can expound on it through Facebook. Another question from Facebook. When a soldier ACAPS retires, may their high schooler be able to complete that year so their child can finish out? Ivor, do you have a good answer to what is the entitlements for retirees?
I'll take a look at the question, sir. My name is Ivor Watson. I'm the Chief of the Military Personnel Division. Unlike a PCS move where you can be extended, normally the Army won't extend ETS or retirement date to accommodate family members to stay in the location. And that's pretty much that's the answer, simply put. You're asking to extend a contract or the person's mandatory separation date. Make sense? However, I have the name of the person that submitted. I'll get with the folks at that table over here and see if I can get a more definitive answer from the Transition Center folks who manages that particular program.
Ms. Thomas, did you have something to add? Thanks.
Yes, Hannah Thomas from the Housing Office. We did run into these situations the past few months. When soldiers are retiring, they have no more entitlements to stay in Germany. It is different than when they're doing a PCS move. With a PCS move, they can stay up to 3 months if granted by the commander. But with retirement date, they are not covered under the SOFA agreement, the Status of Forces agreement, and that's the key. So retirement, ETS, they are not covered. That's the answer.
Okay. So let me just recap and make sure I understood so that folks out there understood. The specific question addressed a time frame of retiring in April of 2013, which we will continue to have the school year going. So they're looking to be able to take their child through to June of 2013. I think what I heard you say, Ivor, was the way you do that is extending your retirement date out to June of 13, you know? Right. If it's not a mandatory retirement date, then put in the application to extend it out, which you can do, and it can go up to Human Resources Command. And having worked at Human Resources Command, I would tell you that there are wonderful people up there who will support you to make sure your child gets to the end of that school year. But if it's a mandatory retirement date based on you're reaching either that MRD or a QMP action, you may not have that flexibility. And in that case, you would not be able to finish out that school year. So I would ask that for that specific individual, they get with Mr. Watson and in our central processing facility or at our DHR, and he can help you work through the specifics of that to make sure that you appropriately can plan for your child. We have another housing question, Ms. Thomas. I think I know the answer for it, but I'll let you address it. The question is, will tenants be responsible for obvious problems with flooring when they leave? And I think a related question would be, when you're leaving, what is the general condition that you have to leave your quarters in, whether it's Ben Franklin Village or PHV, based on Ben Franklin Village where nobody's moving in behind you. Patrick Henry Village, it probably depends on if somebody is moving behind you. So, Mrs. Thomas.
And that's correct. Yes, there is a difference between Benjamin Franklin Village and Patrick Henry Village. Benjamin Franklin Village, we are not moving any residents in there anymore. So we return that to the host nations. And what we need to clear out these quarters is empty quarters. They need to be dusted, and the government furniture and appliances need to be clean. We are not worried about the walls, the floors. But when you move out of Patrick Henry Village, yes, we do need to move other residents in. So if there are damages, yes, you will be charged. Is this sufficient?
Okay. Will be charged if you are responsible for the damage. This next question, I may need some help from Dodds or from Jim on. The question is, our child goes to PHV Elementary. When we move, do we need to re-enroll him into the new school, or will his paperwork from PHV be forwarded? Jim, do you want to address that?
For the units and the individuals who are moving to a different location here in Europe, the best bet is to stop by the school that you're leaving, let them know that you're disenrolling and you're going to be enrolling in another school, Wiesbaden, for example, and you can then hand carry your packet to Wiesbaden school. We can make other arrangements for large movements of students, but really the best bet is just to do the same thing you would do, moving from one school to another, whether you be PCSing from the States to here or from here to back to the States. So carry your package to the new school and make sure that you disenroll from the Dodd school that you're currently attending, and they'll give you the packet and the necessary information that you need to re-enroll in the new school.
Okay, I think that's a great question, though, on the enrollment when you know you're going to another Dodd school here in Europe, Wiesbaden, Kaiserslautern, Schweinfurt. And I think that's something we should take on and look at if there's a way that we can get some sort of cooperation with Wiesbaden and Kaiserslautern and Schweinfurt on when we do our registration. Is there a way that they can also send a rep and, we do the registrations right there for folks who have orders to those other locations?
Yes, sir. For the large movements, for example, to Wiesbaden, to Schweinfurt, and so forth, the schools liaisons in those receiving communities are working very closely together with me, and we will be coordinating those moves together. Typically what I'm doing at the present time is working with FRGs for those individual units. The 214th, for example, Mannheim, I'm meeting with them in about 2 weeks, and we're working very closely together to make sure that we're linked up the sending community here in Heidelberg with the receiving community in that case, Wiesbaden, but also for example, 18th Engineers in Schweinfurt and so forth. So we are doing these as mass movements, and there would be very close coordination between the school's liaison officers in both communities. Sure.
Okay, thanks. This is another great question from our Facebook followers. Will the CMR be supporting soldiers who will be last to leave in Patrick Henry Village? As most of you probably know, we don't have a full-service CMR here on Patrick Henry Village. So part of, again, that master plan of what we're looking at for PHV is we are going to have to do some type of renovation here on PHV to establish a full-service CMR that will support folks through to the end when we do the final closures in 2015. So that service will be provided here out of Patrick Henry Village. I can't tell you today which location it'll be. It certainly won't be where the current postal operation is, because that building's too small to support having mailboxes and a full-service CMR. But we will have that type of facility renovated somewhere here in PHV, so that when the big closures in Heidelberg happen in 2013, folks will be able to get their mail here at Patrick Henry Village. Any questions from the audience? Okay, our Facebook followers seem to be the big winners today. Will EFMP enrolled families have any priority in moving to Wiesbaden early? That's a good, tough question, but it's again one I think that falls into a category of it's going to be unit specific on the answer to this because it's mission oriented. If you have EFMP enrolled, EFMP enrollees in your family, then certainly you have to get the EFMP screening with our MEDAC folks before you can do the move. If there is a reason that you feel you need some priority to be able to move to Wiesbaden early, that's something that can be worked with the unit because it's mission-based on, is the mission going to be there? Can they support doing that? Wiesbaden, I'm sure, will be willing to receive early. They are already receiving some USAG folks that are coming in now rather than them coming to here. But it needs to be an EFMP condition that can be supported up there in Wiesbaden. So it's really going to be specific to the case, the EFMP case, and what the unit is able to support, more so than us being able to say blanket statement, if you have an EFMP enrollee, then you get priority to move to Wiesbaden early. If our children are in EFMP in Heidelberg, do we need to do the paperwork for the new area? Okay, you have to do the EFMP screening, correct? And without that EFMP screening, you can't move to the new community because they have to verify that it can be supported in that new community. And if it can't, then we have to work the personnel system to figure out with HRC and with the G1 folks at USAG, where can it be supported that can support your assignment. As far, I don't know if the question also may refer to respite care. Barry, I'm assuming that they would have to reapply for respite care in the new location because it would be a different respite care provider. Is that correct? Okay. Any questions from the audience? Okay. So, we're coming up on just about towards the end of our time. So, unfortunately, I think these will be the last questions we can take because I want to make sure, I think we have some door prizes to give out to folks before we leave, for folks who are here attending. And we'll have to figure out if there's a way we can randomly award some of our Facebook folks. That's a future due-out we got to look at. But we're coming up on the time where AFN's going to have to stop coverage of this event, and I don't want to cut into any more viewing time off AFN Prime Atlantic because we've already cut into almost 2 hours of it. So, last couple questions. Will families have the capabilities to move ourselves to Wiesbaden? Will they be reimbursed for the costs? That would be a personally procured move. John, do you have somebody who could answer that question? Bruce?
For any soldiers or civilians who want to move to on their own, personally procured move, bring your orders or your memorandum authorizing you to move to the personal property office, room 267 at the Community Shop Sports Center.
Okay, great. I think those used to be called Diddy moves. They're called personal procured moves today. So that is an option for folks. Last question. Will there be a problem for people moving to Wiesbaden that have to live off post but have less than a year once they move there? Does housing help with contract utilities for those who will be moving in less than a year? Maybe Ms. Thomas can answer that question, but again, what I will qualify with what she answers with is what we think, but obviously the garrison in Wiesbaden gets a vote, but they employ the same policies we do.
Okay. Yes, the housing office will help those soldiers if they are going to be there less than a year, but is it really worth moving? Are there any other options? So I would advise to contact the housing office to see if there are any other options. There are no limits usually on rental contracts. They are from 1 month to 10 years. Like I said, it's open-ended lease, but is it really worth to move? That's the question here. This person should ask. Okay.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Thomas. I mean, that really goes back to what I mentioned before about the units making the hard decisions and helping us with that on determining if there's folks that need to be curtailed or maybe, you know, if the MOS of the soldier is one that could be transferred to another unit here that's remaining behind, that would make more sense than making the move to Wiesbaden for less than a year.